Good morning. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And here's Charlie with the announcements.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. It is November 20th, and it is a green day. School photos are in. Stop by the headmaster's office today to pick up your photos. All boarding students going on the school's Thanksgiving trip to Boston next week must meet with Mr. Robillard today at 310 in Fuller Hall. If you are unable to attend the meeting, you must see Mr. Robillard today. Student government will meet today right after school in Fuller Basement. Please see Mr. Ryan or me with any concerns or questions. Juniors and seniors, please check your email for Capstone Day venue assignments. We have very limited seating in the smaller venues, so you may not have gotten your chosen venues. If you want to request change, the request must be made by Monday, November 24th. Please know that we will do our best, but changes to smaller venues likely cannot be made. Any requests after Monday will not be considered. We apologize for these constraints. Thank you for your patience and understanding. Happy birthday today to Paulina Eltonseva. Happy birthday. Okay, and that's it. Have a good day until I see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Charlie. I have a couple of late announcements. As a reminder, you need to be in your seat by the time I, Mr. Lenzini, or Ms. Hanson begin to walk up to the stage to begin chapel. No one should be getting up during chapel unless it's a medical emergency, at which point you need to alert an adult. Everyone was great today. Actually, you guys were sitting and quiet before I even thought about coming up on stage. So congratulations to all the participants in last night's Poetry Out Loud declamation. It was an evening of incredible performances. Here are the 4 students who will be finalists in the contest: Everett Blake, Marcus Burns, Donley Johnson, and Hannah Langell. Congratulations, guys. And thank you again to everyone who took part, both in your classroom competitions and in the declamation. And as a reminder, those 4 will visit us here in chapel a couple of times before and we'll choose a school champion, and then those folks will go to the state championship. So congratulations, guys. So we have 2 guests this morning. The first to share a sustainability spotlight with you. Please welcome Connor.
Good morning. My name is Connor Simons, and today I'd like to speak about an event I'm very excited about. This Saturday, November 22nd, in the Fieldhouse parking lot from 9 a.m. to noon, I'll be holding an electronics recycling event to collect and recycle discarded electronics. Thank you, and bring your assorted electronic waste this Saturday.
And now, please welcome Rain Rashid. Come on up.
Hello, I'm Rain Rashid. I'm here from Student Diversity Council. I'm a junior, and no.
Please don't. Because that was a different one I was saying. Oops.
And today is Transgender Day of Remembrance, a day where we memorialize trans people who have lost their lives in anti-transgender violence. It began in Boston in the early 2000s after a string of murders of Black trans women. Today, I would like to speak about transgender identity, and all I ask is that you listen with an open mind. So, to begin, I am transgender. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm aware that there are people in the audience who may react to this with confusion or amusement, but stay with me for a second. I'm not here to debate or to prove a point on the existence of trans people. The existence of people like me is not something new or political. There is evidence of transgender people existing in cultures dating back thousands of years, such as the Hijra in South Asian cultures, Lahamana from the Zuni people, and Fa'afafine from Samoa. Many cultures have roles for transgender people where we were often honored and venerated. Even in recent history, being transgender is not something new that resurfaced or anything like that. Understanding of transgender identity as we think of it today dates all the way back to the early 1900s at Magnus Hirschfeld's Institute for Sexual Research in Berlin, Germany, which pioneered gender-affirming healthcare until it was shut down by the Nazi Party in 1933, the day before the first book burning. Many books from the Institute were looted and destroyed. All this to say, transgender people have always been here, we will always be here, and all we want is respect. It does not take a lot to respect someone's identity, even if you claim not to understand it or agree with it. Calling people by their preferred names and pronouns are good ways to do this. Another thing I would like to mention is that 71% of Americans don't think that they know a trans person. This perceived disconnect allows people to dehumanize us more easily. Because of this, there have been countless attacks on the trans community, such as physical ones, including the murders of Nex Benedict, Brianna Jai, and Fern Feather. Fern Feather lived in and was murdered in Vermont. There have also been political and legislative attacks through legislation making it harder for trans people to live our lives. These attacks should not be tolerated or normalized, and I am here as a real flesh and blood trans person who all of you at least know of to tell you that the trans community will not be erased or scapegoated. We are individuals who all of you know and have interacted with. We are right here in front of you. We are your peers, your teachers, your community members. We are real, living, breathing people. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. That's just my theme song, I guess. So thank you so much. Chapel is a really wonderful, diverse experience. And that is to say, I'm going to talk about food now. So yesterday, faculty and staff received an email from Chef David Hale that we receive every year about this time. And for some of us, it is the real evidence that Thanksgiving is coming after all. It's the announcement that the culinary program is, and I quote, cranking up to bring us tasty treats that make our Thanksgiving that much easier. I heard Mrs. Lejeune say out in the office, time to do my Thanksgiving baking, and I then started tapping a reply with her order. So our culinary students make foods that are traditionally associated with Thanksgiving, like cranberry sauce and apple, pumpkin, and pecan pies, dinner rolls, and pumpkin and cranberry orange breads. Sorry, Mr. Ford. We hardly ever eat these foods at other times of the year, particularly cranberry sauce and pumpkin pie and a whole stuffed roast turkey, which is another traditional food, obviously. In our house, we also serve a sweet potato dish with brown sugar and pecans and roasted potatoes with thyme. And it got me thinking about food, obviously. So this is a good moment for me to plug our annual food drive for the NECA food shelf that's happening right now. If you can, please bring non-perishable food items to the Student Life office here in Colby Hall. There's already an impressive pile of donations there. So thinking about food, and particularly the Thanksgiving table that's filled with these familiar things like turkey and stuffing and all that, made me realize that apart from imagining that these things and other root vegetables and corn were somehow present in 1621 in Plymouth, Massachusetts, I've hardly really thought about the American Thanksgiving table and how it became so distinctive. So I've taken for granted that if you go into the market at any point right now, you'll see mounds of sweet potatoes and bags of pecans and cranberries and cans of pumpkin and freezers full of turkeys. But this is, of course, not something that you can take for granted anywhere else in the world. Many of you know. So one year my family was living in London on Thanksgiving, and trying to find reasonable quantities of sweet potatoes, pecans, and cranberries was like searching for exotic delicacies. And it turns out there's surprisingly little sympathy for American holiday food shoppers in England. But the real story of why we eat what we eat and why we even have a national Thanksgiving at all is more recent. The history of our current Thanksgiving begins with a woman that you've probably never heard of. Her name is Sarah Josepha Hale. I'm assuming no relation to Chef Hale, but you never know. Sarah Josepha Hale lived in the mid-1800s, which was a time when women had very little obvious public influence, but often found creative ways to be heard. So Sarah Hale became the editor of Goody's Ladies Book, which became the most widely read magazine in America. Her magazine reached over 150,000 subscribers, which gave her a louder voice than almost any other woman in the country. Beginning in the 1840s, Sarah Hale began to petition for a national Thanksgiving holiday, something that could be shared by all Americans and would belong to the whole country. And at the time, different states were already holding their own Thanksgiving celebrations, but just on different dates. So New England celebrated, the South mostly did not. There was no single moment when the nation paused together. So Hale believed that a day of gratitude could help hold the country together. She saw Thanksgiving not just as a tradition, but as a kind of moral anchor for our national life. She wrote editorials every year in Goody's Ladies Book for a national Thanksgiving. She published recipes to create a national menu. She wrote to senators and governors and 5 different presidents, 4 of whom simply ignored her. But in 1863, the United States was in the 3rd year of the Civil War, which was brutal. Hundreds of thousands were already dead, cities were destroyed, families were divided against themselves, and there was seemingly no end in sight. In September of 1863, Sarah Hale decided to try one more time, and she wrote a letter about a national day of Thanksgiving to the new president, whom she hoped would finally listen, even though a day of national unity seemed fairly unlikely. She wrote to Abraham Lincoln, and in her letter, she argued that a shared national Thanksgiving could help heal the wounds of the nation and give people a moment to remember their blessings, even in the midst of suffering. Lincoln was already looking for ways to unite the country morally and spiritually. He had been issuing calls for prayer and fasting and national humility. And Hale was offering something that might just actually appeal to people, a unifying act of gratitude that was centered on family and food. So on October 3rd, 1863, just weeks after the Union victory at Gettysburg, which was one of the turning points of the war, Lincoln issued a Thanksgiving proclamation establishing the last Thursday of November as a national day of Thanksgiving. The proclamation acknowledged the war and its terrible cost, while also recognizing the nation's institutions and freedoms and hopes were still enduring. So he wrote, "It has seemed to me fit and proper that they should be solemnly, reverently, and gratefully acknowledged as with one heart and one voice by the whole American people." So Lincoln wasn't telling the country that everything was fine. He was reminding us that Thanksgiving, the practice of gratitude, is not something that we do only when life is easy. It's something we do to remember what's worth saving. So what does this have to do with stuffing and turkey and pumpkin pie? For nearly 2 decades, Sarah Hale, had been publishing Thanksgiving recipes in her magazine. She believed that shared rituals create shared identity, and shared identity creates unity. So she promoted dishes that she thought were distinctly American and kind of widely available. Roast turkey, potatoes, pumpkin, and cranberries. So these recipes spread across households, and once Lincoln made Thanksgiving a national holiday, her Thanksgiving menu went national as well. So the Thanksgiving dinner that many of us know and celebrate is largely the creation of a woman who believed that food could help heal us. Sarah Hale, a woman whom I think we can reasonably call Chef Hale, believed in this idea that food rituals are powerful enough to remind us that we share important things in common, even when there's lots of talk of what divides us. And even when those things are cranberry sauce and pie. And now that I think about it, when I was in London looking desperately for sage, rosemary, and thyme, I felt very American indeed. So Thanksgiving is one of the few holiday traditions that asks very little from us but presence and gratitude and a bit of pie. So I want to give thanks for all the Chef Hales in history, for our culinary program, and for all the people here who recognize that sitting down to a meal in common is healing, and that we should try to make that possible for as many people as we can. Don't forget to contribute to the food drive. Have a good Thursday, everybody. Now I'd like to bring up Mr. Lenzini to take us through an evacuation drill. Mr. Lenzini.
Okay, so today is day 2